This presentation is one of the most important presentations you will hear in regard to how you should conduct your final project. Everyone did a wonderful job on the mini textbook tracker access project. But what if you did this for a client? Could your client use your database program without your help? Thus, has the project been properly documented? What if you were not around and changes needed to be made? Could your client handle this on his or her own? In your final project, you will need to pay special attention to and detail your final project by incorporating the important facets of system development, the system development life cycle, and project management. The presentation today will focus on the following objectives. We will review the system development process and how to undertake projects using system development methodologies. We will also explore where system development projects originate from and how to get at the root cause of a problem. Another objective for us today is to understand the differences between system development, the system development life cycle, and project management, and how they are combined to produce solutions that are driven by technology. Finally, we will have some fun by reviewing what we have learned in class today by having another Jeopardy game, similar to the one that we did on database normalization. And we will also apply what we have learned today to an approved class project. The first thing we need to know about in regard to systems development is that systems development is a process. Can you define the system development process? It is a set of activities and methods by which we use best practices to produce deliverables via implementing technology to satisfy our customers or our business. It also involves an iterative approach of continuous improvement. A couple of questions we should be able to answer are, what are best practices? And who are stakeholders? There are many variations of systems development. Did you ever hear of RAD, R-A-D, or JAD, J-A-D, or extreme programming? It is important to note that systems development uses a pragmatic approach, a consistent and defined approach. Why? Because a consistent logical approach will produce efficiencies, consistent documentation, and it also promotes quality, which is very important to our stakeholders, especially the users of the systems and our customers or our business. Do you know where system development projects come from? Yes, problems. Problems that can be solved with technology and automation. Can you give me an example of how technology is used to solve problems? Other than problems, where else do system development projects emanate from? Opportunities. Case in point. What if we are a corporation with lots of money and we don't know what to do with it? We could invest it in making our current systems better. Life is all about choices, and so too is systems development. Do you want to walk on better sidewalks? Or do you want to sit at a beautiful computer console in a comfortable chair at a state-of-the-art Alienware streaming computer with a super fast internet and fiber optic capability? Where else do system development projects come from? Can you give me an example? What about a directive? What about Obamacare? Thus, how do we go about solving problems? How do we define them, solve them? The answer to these questions make up part of what we call the system development. Let us look at a general problem-solving approach. Is there a methodology or methodologies for solving problems? Is there more than one way to skin a cat? Think for a minute. What is the first thing we need to understand when trying to solve a problem? Yes. Do we actually have the right problem? Please note that Kaoru Ishikawa developed what we call today the fishbone diagram. Another step that we can take a look at is what resources do you need to actually solve the problem? Step 3, what are your alternatives? And then choose the optimal solution. Step 4, design and apply the optimal solution. And finally, step 5, see what happens. Evaluate and tweak. The PIECES problem-solving approach is a different systems development methodology that focuses more on the opportunities and ways to improve business processes via process redesign. It is also an excellent framework for classifying requirements. Who developed this process? James C. Weatherby. And if we look at his resume, we can see that he has published many articles and books. And many of the PIECES framework was actually constructed in the mid-70s. The P stands for the need to improve performance. The I, the need to improve information. The E, the need to improve economics and control costs and increase profits. C stands for improving control and security. And E is the need to improve efficiency. And S finally is customer relationship management oriented, and it improves services to customers, suppliers, partners, and employees. When developing any system, certain standards or principles should be applied to the system development process. These are some of the principles that we should be concerned with. The first one is getting the users involved. You need buy-in by the end users and get their input and ideas and participation early on. This is part of the process of change management. Problem solving. What is it that you're really trying to accomplish? Try to look at things from different perspectives. Establish phases, goals, milestones, and activities to accomplish those goals. We will see many phases in the system development life cycle, which will follow shortly. Documentation. We are all a bit weak here, but you will need to do this for every phase of the system development life cycle. Establish standards, best practices, follow system development methodologies and system development life cycle phases. Also, policies and procedures are very important to establish. Manage the project. Project management is very important and is really at the core of system development. We should employ good leadership and team building skills. Capital investments consisting of return on investment, net payback period, net present value, and feasibility are very, very important in judging what projects are going to be undertaken. You may also find out that you will adapt to the ever-changing landscape of technology, so adjust and revise scope if necessary. How do you need an elephant? Yes. Divide and conquer. Try to make your project scalable. Systems seem to grow faster than anticipated. What is the system development life cycle? The system development life cycle is really the system development process for creating and planning a system that incorporates the life cycle of the system, which can be applied to an information system, software application, or some other type of engineering system. We can see in this depiction a very basic flow of our systems development life cycle project, going from the planning stage to analyzing the alternatives to then designing for the best alternative to then implementing and then maintaining. Here's another view which comes out with the initial idea, feasibility studies that are conducted, requirement analysis, and then systems analysis, picking out again the best project. Also coming out with specifications, system design, then developing, perhaps testing, beta testing, implementation, followed by maintenance, and then a review and evaluation. As you can see, the system development life cycle is very important in this class, and as you also progress through this course. In order to get an A, you will need to follow it. Also, with your careers as IT professionals, you will need to employ these concepts and parts of the methodologies on a daily basis. This is my favorite depiction of the system development life cycle. Please observe this and tell me what your observations are. Notice that project management is at the core and at the heart of system development life cycle, which is surrounded by change control and changes to the scope, followed by the main phases, which are all documented with various activities. Yet another view from our author emphasizing the system development life cycle. It does not follow a waterfall methodology. Some phases are executed and run parallel with other phases. In addition, there is no maintenance phase in this illustration. The project manager has many responsibilities, and he and she is charged with fulfilling many tasks. Project management is all about communication and getting people to realize that only the team can create the synergies needed to accomplish the project. They need to function as a unit. Notice the basic steps in project management, from the kickoff, the feedback loop, and closing the project. Who needs to sign off on the project before it can be closed? Yes, the sponsor or customer.